Ah, broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll, a saintly soul glides down the Stygian river. And let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, a dirge for the most lovely dead that ever died so young. And Guy de Vere, hast thou no tear? Weep now or nevermore. See on yon drear and rigid bier, low lies thy love Lenore. Yon air whose cheeks of pallid hue, with tears are streaming wet, sees only through their crocodile dew a vacant coronet. False friends, ye loved her for her wealth, and hated her for her pride, and when she fell in feeble health, ye blessed her that she died. How shall the ritual then be read, the requiem how be sung, for her most wronged of all the dead, that ever died so young? Peccavimus, but rave not thus, and let the solemn song go up to God so mournfully that she may feel no wrong. The sweet Lenore hath gone before with young Hope at her side, and thou art wild for the dear child that should have been thy bride. For her the fair and debonair that now so lowly lies, the life still there upon her hair, the death upon her eyes. Avaunt, to-night my heart is light, no dirge will I upraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a paean of old days. Let no bell toll, lest her sweet soul, amid its hallowed mirth, should catch the note as it doth float up from the damned earth. To friends above, from fiends below, the indignant ghost is riven, from grief and moan to a gold throne, beside the King of Heaven. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Amethyst Raven and I'm doing Release the Crafting's latest challenge, hashtag Povember24. And that was Lenore that I just read out to you. Check out Priscilla's intro video to see how you can get involved with either the big challenge that I'm doing or the mini challenge if a whole month of prompts doesn't work for you this month. But in essence, it is 6 Edgar Allan Poe poems, split into 5 prompts per poem over the month of November. So I will be sharing all 5 makes for each poem at once, so 1 video per poem. And at the end of each video, I will also be doing a Poe Tarot 1-card pull for you all from my Poe Tarot deck. So let's get started, shall we? So I'm going to pop this candle over here and try not to set anything alight. Put everybody in their observation stations. And we can get started. So, the first poem, as we said, was Lenore. So the first 5 prompts for Lenore are here. So we'll go through them one at a time. So here is my Poe journal that I made and I showed you the other day. So the first prompt is the spirit. So that's here. So I wanted to keep this one quite white with not much in the way of like grunging up or anything like that. So I imagine like the spirit of Lenore to be in a wedding dress as like a representation of the bride that never was due to her untimely death. So I've got these white and cream lace strips here to represent both her aspirational wedding dress and also the veil between this world and the spirit world. Veil also representing obviously a wedding veil as well. And when we pass through this veil, we catch a glimpse of the spirit of Lenore. She has this tulle type fabric kind of billowing around her, which as it billows up, or blows entirely out of the way, you can see her more clearly. And so I've basically drawn her in whites, silvers and golds to represent kind of her innocence and the wealth that everyone cared about the most, and how Edgar sees her in all of her beauty. And I used this page in the journal because it kind of suggests that there's other spirits in the background, or maybe this is an ancestor that's come to meet her and take her safely to the other worlds. So that is my prompt number 1 for the spirit. So prompt number 2 is Tia, and I've done this really impractically, but let's just flip over. So prompt number 2 is Tia, and I made my first ever kind of shaker thing. It doesn't really shake, but it's got stuff in it. Anyway, so the tear reference in the poem is more of an absence of tears from Guy de Vere, but I've taken it more kind of as Poe's perspective as the author. So I made a teardrop out of this clear packaging, so it's kind of like water. So I don't know if you can see because it's really hard to see clear stuff. And I basically filled it with ripped up, like the poem itself ripped up. So Lenore all ripped up there, and then just kind of spins around. Okay. And the words inside basically signify Poe's tears from the loss and heartbreak from her death. And again, I've gone quite white and simple with this prompt. I didn't know why. I just, when I read the poem, it just, I don't know, I just visualise white in my head for some reason. In the background here, we've got some blurry handwritten scrawl of the raven, which, as we know, is about the lost Lenore. And that was there to kind of, well, mainly to cover up the lace on the other side, but also just to kind of signify the fact that he never really got over the loss. And really, obviously, Lenore is believed to represent Edgar's wife, Virginia, who he lost when she was 24. And we are just going to skip over the nature of that relationship, and we won't bring into question the appropriateness of it different times, right? Anyway, moving on. So the next prompt is the funeral. So I need to find out which one that was because I didn't do it in any sort of order. I think it's, yes, the funeral. Here we go. So I used photos that I basically took from my recent grave walk that I do at a local cemetery every October. And I go there to visit a family member and lay flowers, and then I wander around and I talk to all the really old graves, let the people that are buried there know that they haven't been forgotten, and I take some pictures so that they can kind of continue to be remembered. So this top layer I've done all kind of transparent as kind of signifying that the funeral happened a very long time ago, fading away as like a distant memory. I've got Poe himself walking through the graveyard through some mist, and then some mourners acting like they are all sad, even though we know they weren't genuinely her friends. And this is her grave in the background here. And then we flip up and it's got the same graveyard picture, but this time it's bright, it's vibrant, and in the present all these years later, but it is crumbling from years and years of weather and wear, but it is an eternity of rest. And I have gone a little bit grungier on this page just to kind of allow for the passage of time. The next prompt is a coronet, which is a crown. And he writes about how the people only cared about Lenore because of her wealth and didn't care when she got ill and died. So I've got my extremely shiny paper back out for this one. I cut out a basic crown shape, which I've never tried to draw a crown before, so I didn't want to go too complex. I don't have any like flat back gems or anything like that for crafting, so I've just used some kind of stickers and cutouts of crystals, amethyst, obviously, what's my name, some blue ones, the star, feather, little flower, and this little butterfly just to pull in as well, just kind of try and convey both the wealth that her so-called friends hung around her for, but also that beauty and grace that Lenore so clearly really displayed. And I've stuck it down as a pocket on one of my purple pages, just to try and bring in some calm to all the shiny. So that is coronet. And finally, prompt 5 is is flowers for a grave. So one of the graves that I saw at the cemetery is actually from a man named Edgar. Now I'm going to see if I can Oops, sorry. If you can read it there, it does say Edgar there. So, so I couldn't not use that one in this prompt, obviously, for obvious reasons. Get you back in shot. And even though this is about the loss of Lenore, I feel that the way the poem reads kind of also shows like the dying inside of Edgar as the author. But you may also notice that the background itself is the same background as the grave from the funeral page. So I've also put in like Lenore's grave here too, but more pushed into the background. I've also put some blank gravestones up here, and that was a Patreon reward from Priscilla from the other day, and I had to make sure to use that in this prompt because how could I not? And then I just decorated it with lots of flowers. Some of them are more kind of faded looking from being out in the sun for too long, but showing obviously the constant love that goes on between them forever. And then I've got bits of the actual poem stuck around the background. And that is my 5 prompts for Lenore. I do hope you like them, and please do let me know what you think in the comments. And now I did also mention that I would do a Poe Tarot 1-card pull at the end of each video. So now over to Amethyst again, in a much tidier setting to do that. Thanks, Amethyst. Okay, so I have my Poe Tarot from my Trisha Lee She Felt deck, which I think I bought in Salem earlier this year. And I got my Poe candle, which I got from New Orleans back in February. My Raven on a Skull on some books, because why not? And obviously Steve too. So I've shuffled my cards. I've asked them to tell me what they have to say to all of my watchers. And I am not an intuitive reader, so I will just kind of explain the card from the book. But the book does give you lots of food for thought, so take from it what you will. So the card for you today is the King of Candles. So there's Poe with some candles on his head. And it says, the road to immortal renown lies straight, open and unencumbered before him. So the King of Candles is obviously far away from where I started. So the King of Candles is from the Marginalia, the Democratic Review, and the candles suit in this is equivalent to wands. It relates to the season of spring. It's to do with the fire signs, so Aries, Leo and Sagittarius. The time frame that this card relates to is days, and it denotes energy, movement, motion, passion, career and creativity. So that's the suit of candles as a whole. And the key words to take away from the King of Candles card is a take charge leader, highly charismatic, very creative, passionate individual. So I think if you are watching this video, then you are probably very creative and a passionate individual. So yeah, I love it when that happens. So I hope you enjoyed that. And my first episode of Povember. Like I said, I'm not an intuitive reader, but take those words, look at the picture, see how it feels for you. And I will be back on November the 10th with episode 2, which is for, can't find me, oh, here, this will do, the Haunted Palace. So we'll see what I create for those, because I haven't started it yet. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't already and you like what you see. And thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I'm excited to go and see what everyone else is doing. Bye.